Hello friends, my name is Irini Mavromatis and welcome back to my channel, which is very weird to say. Anyway, so just a bit of a pre-warning, this video might be a little bit long. I'm going to talk about my medical history because in my last video I mentioned that I have a bilateral cleft lip and that I want to bring together a cleft community and that whole thing. So I thought just first and foremost talk about what a cleft lip is, because the first time I usually say to people I was born with a bilateral cleft lip, the first thing people usually say is, what is that? So I just want to clarify what that is and just go through what I've had done. So not offended if you don't want to watch this, that's completely fine. It is just me talking at you again, so just letting you know. First and foremost, what is a cleft lip? So I'm looking at the NHS website just so I'm getting it medically correct, because as far as I'm concerned it is just a gap that I was born with in my top lip, and that is the same thing that the NHS says. So the NHS have said a cleft is a gap or split in the upper lip and or roof of the mouth, the palate. So you can also get a cleft palate, and this is present from birth. So the gap is there because parts of the baby's face didn't join together properly during development in the womb. So this disfigurement or deformity happens in utero. So the last part of the fetus's creation, I guess, the last part of the baby to be formed in the womb is the face, and it kind of comes together like this. And this is the last part to join together, and basically it just means that during development in the womb, me and 1 in 700 other people over the world, that part of their face just didn't form properly when they were being created. So health wise, most of the time it doesn't affect the rest of your health. So usually when treated, there aren't any more health risks that can happen to a child because of their cleft lip or palate. Initially though, before the first surgery, there can be a few difficulties, especially with malnutrition, because it can be difficult for the baby to be fed. I was lucky, however, because when I was being breastfed, my little lips were able to latch on to the breast and I was able to feed that way. However, once I stopped being breastfed, I did have to have a special bottle which my mum would have to squeeze into my mouth, so the milk would squirt into my mouth because I couldn't latch onto the bottle like a normal baby would be able to. Yeah, so some of the problems that babies can have and people with cleft lips can have are malnutrition, so difficulty feeding, hearing problems. So I know some people, due to the cleft palate especially, their sinus area is affected by that, and so their hearing. My hearing was not affected. However, I have had multiple hearing tests because I thought I did have a problem with my hearing. Turns out I don't. I think I've just got selective hearing, but that is another issue entirely. Another issue most clefties have are dental problems, something I have had a few issues with. I will go on to explain more about that a little bit later on. Also, we can have speech problems. I think my speech is okay. I haven't had any speech therapy, although it was offered to me as a child. I have suffered with like stuttering and that kind of thing, but I think that's more of a confidence issue as opposed to any backlash from having a cleft. I think again that is more towards those with a cleft palate, and people with a cleft palate face a whole other range of procedures and surgeries in order to fully repair their cleft. So that is just initially the beginning of what a cleft lip is. So altogether I have had 9 surgeries as a result of my cleft lip. Being born in England, very lucky. We have the NHS. I will never knock that system, but for me it has been a literal lifesaver. As soon as I was born and it was discovered that I had a cleft lip, straight away a cleft team came to visit my parents just to reassure them first and foremost that everything will be okay, and secondly just to let them know that this team will be there for me and that this is the route that they are hoping to follow with my full repair. So my first operation, I was only 4 months old. They had to wait until I was old enough to have a major operation performed on, and that initial surgery was just closing the gap. So I don't know if you can see very well, but I have these two scars here. So that is the repair of the cleft. So my bilateral, yeah, that's another thing. Bilateral is 2, so you can have the unilateral, which is just 1, or the bilateral, which is 2. So I have the 2. And the first operation when I was 4 months old, that was just closing the gap. If you look on my Instagram, scroll through the pictures a little bit, I put a picture up there of me when I was a baby before I had any surgery. I think I was like a day or 2 old, just to show you what I looked like when I was born. Also, when you type into Google what a cleft lip looks like, you get many images, and I think that cleft babies are the cutest babies ever. We all have these big eyes, and like, I just think we're really cute. So yeah. And then my second operation, I was 10 months old. So this one was a little bit more invasive. Basically, because my scars go right up into my nose, my cleft goes right up into my nose. As a result of that, my nose was quite flat when I was born. So when I was 10 months old, they tried to lift up my nose. So they had 2 incisions around the corners of my nose and at the bottom here, and they tried to lift my nose up. And because I was only 10 months old, there's pictures of me where I had my arms in casts to just keep my arms in place so I didn't touch my face, and there's like a red little tab here, I think, to like keep it up. So that was when I was 10 months old. Unfortunately, that collapsed on my left side. So if you can see, it's just a bit collapsed here. So they said that when my face is fully formed, they will come back and revisit my nose and try and repair that then. And then when I was 5 years old, I had a teeth extraction because for some reason I had too many teeth in my mouth. I believe that this is something that's quite common with clefties as well. And then my next operation, I was 7 years old, and this one was a big one. I remember this very well. So I had a bone graft. Basically, I had a bone missing in my gum on the left side. So because of that, they had to get a bone out of my hip. I think they had to go quite deep down into the marrow. I don't know. I'm not getting all these technical terms correct, so medical professionals out there, I'm sorry. This is my 7-year-old brain remembering what happened. So they had to dig down deep into my hip to extract some bone and put it into my gum. So that's when I was 7, and that was difficult for me, I remember, because I had to be in hospital for a week for that one. Well, all the other previous operations, I think I was in hospital for about at least a week. But for this one, it wasn't just my head that was affected, it was my body as well. So I was in hospital for a week, and then I was in a wheelchair for a week, and then I had to walk around with a walking stick for about 2 months afterwards, which for a 7-year-old is difficult to do, especially because we had just moved house at that point. So I was starting a whole new school. I remember starting school with a walking stick as a 7-year-old. Wasn't very popular, didn't make friends very quickly. So yeah, that was when I was 7. And then I didn't have any more operations until a lot later on. However, I had a lot of dentist work between that operation. So I think I was 11 when I had my braces, and then I had that for 18 months. And then when I was 16, I had a major operation. I had an Ebby flap. So an Ebby flap, I think, was originated around World War I, and it's basically a transferring of skin onto another part of the body and keeping it attached, keeping that flap attached for long enough for the blood flow to be supplied to that new bit of skin so that it didn't fall off and die. So I don't know if you can see here, I have a scar at the bottom as well, because when I was 16, the Ebby flap, they basically cut a V shape out of the bottom of my lip flipped it round and attached it to here. The reason why they did that is because, again, my nose was quite flat, so they wanted to lengthen this part of my nose for the future rhinoplasty they were going to do. Like they say, when my face is fully grown, they're going to come back and revisit my nose. So they wanted to give me extra length, so when they pulled my nose up, it wouldn't collapse again. So that's when I was 16. I had the epi flap, and that was flipped, put here, all sewn together. So this bit of skin is actually from here, and this bit of skin is from here. So they just pushed everything up, and for 2 weeks my lips was basically sewn together for the blood supply to keep going. So they kept a bit of skin attached from here to here. So I was like this for 2 weeks, and I had like a strap of tape here to keep my jaw locked so I couldn't open my mouth. That was hard. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. I couldn't eat. I couldn't yawn. I remember having a lot of, mucus and blood coming up from after my operation, which I couldn't get out. I had to like fish it out, and because my teeth were basically like taped shut as well, it was hard. I remember my mum, she blended a roast dinner for me because we were having roast dinner one Sunday, and I was so jealous because I was living off soup. So she blended me a roast dinner, Yorkshire pudding and all, and I didn't have to, but I tried it through a straw. Yeah, I don't recommend that. So anyway, I had that for 2 weeks, and then the next operation was 2 weeks later. That's when I had it open. And again, oh my god, I remember when I was in the recovery room, they told me that I could speak finally. I went and then I just wouldn't stop speaking for so long after that. I mean, I was obviously drugged up on morphine. Yeah, wonderful feeling. Anyway, then my next operation after that, I was 17, and that was the rhinoplasty. So I have essentially had a nose job when I was 17, and that again was to lift up the nose. And they were like, while we're there, is there anything else you would like doing to your nose? And I was like, well, I have been blessed by the Greek gods with a big nose, so I would like, to have a nice little slope if I can, and just a little bit neater and a bit more button-like. So they did, and I am much happier with my nose than I was. I did not like my nose at all. It was horrible, to not be mean to myself. However, unfortunately, it did collapse again on the same side, so that's why you can see the slope there, and on this you can see that this side is a lot higher than this side because it did collapse. And this was also the same side that I had the bone graft, so my left side is the more affected cleft side. Even though I've got a bilateral, my left is a lot more affected. So I was 17 when I had that. When I was 18, I had another operation just to remove some extra skin, because after the epi flap I had quite a lot of skin here, so when I smiled you couldn't see my teeth. So they just removed that skin from under here. And I remember the first time you could see a picture with me smiling and you could see my teeth, I actually cried a little bit. And then when I was 19, I had my final operation, and that was just some scar revision surgery, just to like file down the scars so they weren't so prominent. Yeah, so that's my 9 surgeries that I've had. If you would like, I can go into more detail about each individual surgery. I'm not going to right now. But that is it in a nutshell, really. So having a cleft lip, it does affect your whole life up until a certain point, because even though between the ages of 0 and 7 I only had 4 operations, I remember going to hospital a lot when I was younger. I think it was just for checkups and for dentist work and just to check in, I guess. So I do remember going to hospital a lot when I was younger, and then also affected how I made relationships as well in school. Like, I found it difficult to make friends, and I think it's because not a lot of kids knew what it was that I had. They could all tell that I looked different and I had scars. And I remember when I was younger, I used to hate talking about it. If anyone even mentioned me having some sort of difference, the whole day I would walk around school like this, and I just wouldn't speak to anyone. So yeah, that was then. So now even though I'm a lot happier with how I look than I was, I'm still not 100% happy, and I just want to know what my options are, if there are any options to maybe just complete the look. So as I said, I'm revisiting my Cleft team and just wanted to discuss options to see if there are options that I can take further to finish the look. So I'm going to show you a little clip after I went to Liverpool. I met it with a psychologist and the orthodontist, because look, the good thing about the NHS, when you have the whole team, we have the surgeon, I think we have a junior surgeon, there's a psychologist, so that you can actually talk about how it has affected your life. Then we have the orthodontist, there's also a speech therapist, and there's a whole team there that work together for you, which is good because they all correspond with each other and everything is unified. I'm not saying this right, I'm sorry, but basically this little video is my reaction after speaking with a psychologist and the orthodontist. So today is the 23rd of August 2018, and this morning I travelled from London to Liverpool because I had an appointment today. I had 2 appointments today at the Children's Hospital Alderhay in Liverpool to discuss having more surgery. So I met up with the psychologist to talk about why I want more surgery, where I want more surgery, and I spoke about how I'm not happy with my nose and I want more done to that, and just discussed my options. And that is literally the word I used the most, was just talking about I just want to know my options, if there are any options, and was with her for about an hour. And the last time I saw her I was 19, so it's been a few years, 7 years since I last saw her. So it was very much a catching up session, finding out what I've been up to since she last saw me, my life, me as a person, me as a Clefty. So it was kind of an emotional thing, really, because I had to talk about me, which is not something I talk about exclusively, and having to really think about my thoughts, which is, again, not something I think about. So that was intense. And then after that I went to speak with the orthodontist, where they then took impressions of my teeth, which I forgot how much I hate. Like, it's just like this pink goo that goes in your teeth and takes a mould and you just can't breathe. But you know, it has to be done because I have a crossbite in my teeth, which came after I had my braces. I had braces when I was 13 for like 18 months, and then they took them out and I moved away and I lost my retainers, so they shifted and they moved it, and I want my teeth fixed if they can fix it. So yeah, that was just basically today. I was just talking about what I want and if it's a possibility to fix what I want fixing. I also had to get some pictures taken of my face, which was horrible, which I hate. There was a man with a camera in my face, just taking pictures of my nose and my lips and my scars and my profile and everything that I hate. But it has to be done. So yeah, that was today. Yeah. So this morning I woke up to see a very lovely story from Cleft Club's Brittany on Instagram, where she was talking about having fillers on her cleft and her nose and her chin. And I was like, this is such a perfect thing to wake up to today, because I'm coming here to talk about future procedures if I'm going to have any. So obviously I mentioned fillers in my session, and there's actually a clinic in Liverpool that do that. So I'm going to get in touch with those people. I'm going to contact them and try and book a consultation to discuss other options if I have any other options. So yeah, it's a bit of a journey. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm going to document it and see what happens. Hi guys, okay, if I look a little bit different, it's because I had to stop filming and do this again another day because my flatmate started singing and you could hear it in the video and I couldn't use it. So anyway, you just watched the video of my reaction after meeting with the psychologist and the orthodontist, and I know I mentioned in the video that I have to think about my thoughts, which is what I don't do, and I do think a lot, okay, I think a lot to the point where I don't sleep sometimes. It's really annoying. So I'd already thought about a lot of the things that the psychologist might ask me. Things like, how attractive do you find yourself? And out of 10, how would you rate your nose? And stuff like this. So I kind of mentally prepared myself to address those thoughts. However, talking about your thoughts is a completely different thing. So having to externalize your thoughts and feelings about yourself and making it make sense is a difficult thing to do, which I'm still struggling to do with this. Like, I'm trying to think of what to say and it's not coming out right half the time, but you know, we're trying. Yeah, so that was a really good session though. I think the main thing that we wanted to talk about was how much I'm relying on having surgery, because I've never really liked how I looked my whole life, but it's been okay because there was always going to be another surgery. So no matter how bad I looked or thought I looked, I didn't have to think about it too much because I didn't have to get used to how I was looking, because my face was always going to change. My face has changed a lot over the years. I look completely different now than how I did when I was a teenager. I look a lot better, I think, but I'm still not 100% happy. So we wanted to talk about about the fact that if I didn't have more surgery, what would I do? Would I be okay with how I looked? Would I go out and seek other things to make me feel better about myself? So that was just basically, I think, what she wanted to establish from our session, is to see how sound of mind I am and to see if surgery really was the best option for me. So I think I did okay, if it's like a test. I don't think I'm addicted to surgery. I don't not like surgery. I think it's a great thing that I've had available to me. But if it came out that I can't have any more surgery, I think I'd be okay. I just want to know that that option's not an option, and then I can be like, fine, that's fine. So I need to just get used to this now, and this is me, and this is how I'm going to look forever, and that's okay. But I think the fact that there might be an option out there, I just want to explore that and see if it's possible. So that's what I had to do with the psychologist. And then the orthodontist, oh, I didn't mention this. And so this tooth is fake. It's a baby tooth with a cap over it. And one of the reasons why my teeth have shifted so much is because baby teeth aren't meant to be there that long. You know, it's surprising, she said, that it's still there. But it's moved, it's shifted, and it will eventually fall out, which she said. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? It's gonna fall out? She's like, yeah, it shouldn't be there that long. And I was like, wait, so one day it can just fall out? And she was like, yeah. I was like, no, that can't happen. So yeah, we're gonna see what to do about this tooth, because we can't just have a huge gap there. No, can't have that. So anyway, that was something else we talked about. And yeah, so I have an appointment at the end of October with the whole Cleft team again, with the surgeon, and we're all going to talk about what we discussed in my last session, and hopefully I can start getting answers. I'm just really happy that things are starting to happen. The ball is starting to roll on this whole thing, because I've been trying to make something happen now for about 2 years. I've been trying to make appointments and just seeing if it's possible to have any more work done for about 2 years. So the idea that this is all happening now, that the right conversations are happening, is just, I'm excited. So yay. Another thing that's happening, actually, I didn't mention, I'm gonna be having my lip line tattooed. So I had this done, I want to say like 5 years ago, and they literally just did a light outline of my lip, because I don't really have a lip line, I just draw it on with lipstick every day. So about 5 years ago, they drew the lip line on and made it as close in colour to my natural lip colour so it didn't look so fake. But honestly, I didn't notice anything from that. So they've told me that they've actually got a new way of doing it now. I think they've adopted the same technique as beauticians use for like microblading and like semi-permanent lip tattoo, and I'm going to be having that done. But before I have that done, I'm getting laser hair removal on my top lip, because being Greek, I have the hairs. So yeah, and all this again is on the NHS, which is amazing. I'm so lucky. So I'm having laser hair removal on my face, and then once all that's gone, then I'm going to have the tattoo, because apparently the laser of the hair removal can affect the pigment of the tattoo. So I don't want like a black lip, so waiting for that to happen. And I have my first hair removal session at the end of this month as well. So it's all happening. I am excited. Things are happening. I'm going to take you with me. Anything else you want to know about, let me know. I will be more than happy to talk about it. Hopefully I won't have 3 different looks in the same video next time. Sorry about that. And yeah, I hope this wasn't too boring. Yeah, I will see you soon. Thank you. Bye.